Hi guys, Matthew Lippard here again. I'm back working on this 1999 Ford Ranger 3-liter V6 engine. I did the checked all the spark, made sure I got spark working, the plugs working, all that stuff is working. I even checked the old wire, everything was working good. So I'm going to go one step farther now. I'm going to start looking into the injectors, do a couple tests on the injectors. Unfortunately, I can only get to 3 of them with this without tearing the intake off. When we get to those 3, do a couple tests on them and see what we can do. Maybe it's the injectors or one of them. So do me a favor, smash that like button and that subscribe button, will you? Subscribe to my channel. Share this vehicle with anybody you know might have a 99 to a 2010 or something like that Ranger or a 3.0 liter. And this will work for almost any other car too. So it doesn't just have to be the Ford Ranger with that engine, but this test will work with just about any vehicle. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this thing around and let's go ahead and get started. All right, here's this 99 Ford Ranger that I'm working on. Got a couple tools here. I've got a multimeter and I've got my stethoscope. So this is what I was talking about, the intake. It covers 1/2 of the engine. I can't even get to those 3 injectors to test those without taking this completely off. And I'm more concerned with the number 1 injector, which is right here anyway. So I'm going to go ahead and take this coil pack off so I can get the other 2 injectors here and move that out of the way. One of the injectors I can get to relatively easy. It's right here. One of them is under here, and then the other one is back there in the back. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this coil pack loose and kind of pick it up out of the way. This looks like there's just 2 bolts here, right here, and then one back over here. They take a 13mm socket. So I'm going to go ahead and remove those, and I'll be right back. Okay, I got that coil pack assembly up out of the way. With these injectors here, there's 2 tabs here. Reach on each side of those 2 tabs, push them in, and then it pulls right off. It's unhooked. Inside of that injector, there's 2 tabs in there. I'm going to use my multimeter and I'm going to check the ohms on these 2 first, and then I'll come back to the number 1 cylinder. They all should be relatively equal in their resistance reading. If I get up here to this number 1 and it's all whacked out, then I know that's the problem. So let's go ahead and check this out. Okay, I'm going to try to get in here outside of the camera view and show you what this does. I'm going to stick one of these probes on each of the wires, or each of the prongs. Whoops! Each of the prongs coming out of the or in the injector itself. We should get a reading. See there? Let me let it settle down here a little bit. Okay, 17. This will be easier because I can be out of the way better. Well, maybe not. I don't know. All right. Well, it's hard to do this by yourself. I don't have anybody here right now to help me, so 19. So those 2 are very similar. Here's the number 1 cylinder. Nothing. There's no resistance whatsoever, which tells me that the injector is held open. It's not working. So that looks like that's the problem. I'm going to go ahead and hook these 3 injectors back up. And then I'm going to get my stethoscope out. And I should hear clicking by each one of these on the injector itself. So I'm going to go ahead and see what I can do there and see if I hear clicking on 2 of them and not on the other one. And if I do, then well, there's my problem. So trying to figure out which way these things go on here. They only go on one way, so you can't put them on backwards. Let me go ahead and start this thing up and we'll check the stethoscope test. Okay, I know you can't hear this. I put it down there. I hear I go down here to this next one. I hear I go down here to this first one. I hear nothing. Nothing whatsoever. So, my problem clearly is an injector issue. So I'm going to go ahead and run down to AutoZone, pick up an injector, and we'll stick it back in there and we'll see what happens. Okay, I'm going to try to do this without taking the whole intake off. I don't know if that's possible, but I'm going to try it. Let me see. There's 2 bolts. I hold this side of the fuel rail on. One right here. One's right there. You can use either a 5/16 or an 8mm. I have an 8mm, so I'm going to use that with a 1/4" drive socket. Let me go ahead and pull those 2 bolts off and see what kind of play I have with this fuel rail. See if I can even do it without taking the entire intake off. So let me see what I can do. Okay, if you have a swivel socket, that's the way to go. I don't have a swivel socket, so in order for me to get in there straight enough, I had to come underneath this wire loom. Without that, I just could not get under it. Plus, I couldn't quite get that 8mm to grab on there. Maybe if I would have went under that, I couldn't, but I tried a 5/16, still couldn't, so I had to go underneath the wire loom. 8mm may work if you go under that wire loom or if you have a swivel socket, but just be aware of that. All right, I've got it loose here. I don't know how well we can see this right now, but there's the injector. I got it off. I am going to be able to get this one off. If it was anything other than the #1 cylinder, I wouldn't be able to do this. I'd have to take everything apart, but since it is the #1 cylinder, now I'm going to, off camera, I'm going to jiggle this thing loose and get this injector out and slide the other one in there, and I think I'll be okay. I am going to put some lube on this injector. Let me go inside the garage where it's a little bit more not such bright sunlight, and I'll do that, and then we'll come back in here and we'll shove it back in there. My choice for lube is what they call super lube. It's not real cheap, and you can use anything. This is a synthetic grease. I first heard about this when I did repair work for Snap-on equipment. This came with all the compressors for the AC machines. So I put some on there like that, and I'll go ahead and rub that around, get it all nice and smooth over those 2 O-rings so that they'll pop right in there and seat real well. Let's go ahead and put this thing back in. It's really kind of a dance to make sure it gets seated in there right. You can see it's in there. As long as your bolts line up here, you're going to be seated properly. Now I'll put those 2 bolts back in, and then I'll give this thing a try and see how we're looking. All right, I got everything back in there. I did take my voltmeter before I put the plug back on. I took my voltmeter and I checked the voltage. It was 0.18 or 0.018, 1/100th off of what the other 2 were, so this should be good. I'm gonna go ahead and start it, and we're gonna see where we're at. Now she's running smooth back where it used to be. I also took my stethoscope and I checked, and that injector now is ticking. So I'll go ahead off camera, put the coil pack back on, and we'll call this macaroni. Okay guys, there we go. Another successful video. Showed you some things of how to look at that P0301 code, that misfire on cylinder 1. This is the same for any. It can be an 02, 03, 04, 05, 06. It's all the same thing, just a different cylinder that's not firing. What I didn't mention is it did have a lean code as well. That should have been my first sign that maybe there's an issue with an injector, but I didn't look at that. It didn't come up at first, but it did later. But anyway, so I replaced that injector. Now this thing's running smooth as silk, just like it always has been. The thing's got over 200,000 miles. It just keeps on ticking. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button and that like button, if you will. Share this thing. Comment in the video if you have any questions. If you are an ASE certified mechanic and you have some suggestions on what I could have done better or not done or whatever, go ahead and leave them in the comment section too. I'll reply as needed, as appropriate. I'm not a ASE certified mechanic. I'm a pretty good backyard mechanic, or what some people call a shade tree mechanic. Like I always say, my shade tree is a little bit bigger than most people's, but I'm still a shade tree mechanic. I just do this for myself and for friends and family and people from church. So go ahead and share this video. Hit that subscribe button, please. Let's build this thing. As of this video, I've got over 700 subscribers. I'm trying to get myself towards 1,000 and on and upwards from there. So go ahead and subscribe to this video or this channel, would you please? I appreciate that, because it's people like you that make this thing work. And I really appreciate you guys. And until next time, make it a great day.